The first one that we're going to discuss is a trust. Now, a trust is an entity that can own property administered by trustees for the benefit of beneficiaries. So when we're dealing with a trust, we should ensure that we are dealing with the right people who are authorized to act on behalf of this trust. The only way to ensure that we are dealing with the correct people is to look at the letters of authority. The letters of authority are issued by the master and tells us exactly who the trustees are. So that is the first thing that we should check. Secondly, if we are dealing with a closed corporation, we should always know who the members are and ensure that all the members have authorized the transaction, either the sale or the purchase of a specific property. If there is more than one member, we will get a resolution signed by all the members authorizing the transaction and authorizing one of the members to sign documents on behalf of that closed corporation. The only way to ensure that we identify the correct members, the correct people to act on behalf of that closed corporation is to look at the founding statement or CK1 document. When it comes to companies, companies own property administered by directors on behalf of shareholders. So it's similar to a trust, although companies are not registered with the master, they are registered with the registrar of companies, and we don't have trustees who act on behalf of a company, we have directors. We don't really care who the shareholders are because they are not authorized to transact on a day-to-day basis on behalf of this company. We want to know who the directors are, and we'll find them on a document called a CM29. So first and foremost, establish and verify the identity of the persons authorizing to act on behalf of this entity. Now, the advantages of owning property in a separate entity is that it doesn't form part of your personal estate. So even though you might be authorized to act as a trustee on behalf of a trust, that property does not form part of your personal estate. So if you pass away one day, those assets will not form part of your estate for estate duty purposes. If you get divorced, the same thing applies. Those assets do not form part of your personal estate. The same with sequestration. If you are sequestrated in your personal capacity, only your personal estate assets are open or there for attachment purposes, not assets that you administer on behalf of one of these legal entities. So the protection is certainly there. The disadvantages of owning property in one of these separate entities are really capital gains tax. As mentioned in one of the previous clips, capital gains tax says that 50% of the capital gain for one of these legal entities must be added to the taxable income for the entity, and not 25% is in the case where the property is owned by a private individual. Another disadvantage that also has been mentioned is the fact that 8% transfer duty is payable at a flat rate. In other words, if you want to buy property for under 500,000 rands in a closed corporation, you don't get the exemption for transfer duty purposes because it's under 500,000 rands. You don't get that exemption because a closed corporation must pay transfer duty at 8%. If you currently own property in one of these legal entities, as aforementioned, and you want to transfer that property out of one of these entities to your personal name because of capital gains tax, then you should contact us immediately in that regard. SARS has allowed for a window period to do so from now up until the end of December next year, being 2011, and you don't have to pay transfer duty. Because usually every time you transfer property either from your personal name into one of these entities or from these entities back into your personal name, transfer duty is payable. But if you want to do so to avoid having to pay 50% or to avoid having 50% of the gain being added to the taxable income of that entity, then you can do so now for the next 18 months without having to pay transfer duty. Transfer fees will still be payable to the conveyancer, but those can be negotiated, and we would advise you to contact us immediately in this regard.